stop skipping Phantom Blood. In 1960, the immortal mangaka Hirohiko Araki was born. Inspired by his father's art books, Araki made the terrible life decision of wanting to draw for a living. After several rejections, he found his stride with Cool Shock BT and Bao in the early 80s, the latter even getting its own anime adaptation. In 1987, changed forever as the manly, flamboyant anthology series known as JoJo's Bizarre Adventure descended onto our mortal realm. We were not ready. I can't even begin to describe how influential of a series this is. The whole everything's a JoJo reference is not an exaggeration, because you can find so many Easter eggs in all kinds of media, especially in anime. Games, movies, fashion, art, and music. This series was influenced by many and has inspired even more works of art. Everyone loves JoJo for a variety of reasons. The meme potential, its story and vast amount of characters, all of the pop culture references, unique fights, and powers. Like, there's so much to love about the show. But nobody likes part 1. Phantom Blood is considered by most smooth-brained individuals to be the worst part. It's slow, the main character is boring, and most of the side characters just don't matter. Some even say you should just skip it entirely and move on to the critically acclaimed Part 2 Battle Tendency. So today, I'm gonna show you why you shouldn't skip the beginning of a story. The fact that I even need to say that is painful. So brush up on your manners, get plenty of fresh air, and don't let the sexy vampires tempt you as we venture into the bizarre world of JoJo, an Englishman's nightmare. Phantom Blood is 9 episodes and 44 chapters. The year is 1868 in London. One rainy day, this dumpster fire of a human being, Dario Brando and his lady of the evening witness an accident. They go to check it out hoping to get some loot, only to find a dead butler, a dead wife, of course there's a screaming baby, and a man named George Joestar having the worst Tuesday night hangover of his life. Assuming Dario was trying to help, George Joestar, the man who literally caused all of this to happen, offers his assistance to Dario for saving his life. I feel like this entire series could have been avoided if George just had, like, common sense. 12 years later, in 1880, our gentleman in training, Jonathan Joestar, named after a fucking restaurant, is out playing with his loyal companion, Danny. They witness a ghastly incident. These no-good ruffians try to coerce this poor damsel in broad daylight. Worry not, young mistress, as Sir Joestar is here to save the day.
I've never met her, but I'll fight for her all the same!
With another gentlemanly deed done, Jonathan returns home to find that his world, no, his whole legacy, is about to take a turn for the worse. This was the moment when I knew I was watching the greatest show ever made. Dio Brando, the son of the abusive drunkard Dario, was given the offer to stay in the Joestar mansion as thanks for saving George's life.
Don't worry, he knows better than to nip at strangers.
Yeah, no, Dio is straight up evil. Like, there's no build up to it, no turning point origin story on how he became this way, just day one, an asshole. Dio's goal is to take everything. Slowly but surely, he will ruin JoJo's life and secure his place as the next heir to the Joestar fortune.
Your suffering isn't over yet, JoJo!
Although JoJo's life isn't all that bad, as the girl from earlier, Arena Pendleton, begins to fancy our posh young lad. They hang out, go on cute little dates, and engage in vandalism, all in the name of love. Hold on a minute. A JoJo protagonist living a normal, healthy life? Don't worry, guys. Dio can fix this. Our Riz King Dio takes it up a notch and steals JoJo and Arena's first kiss. Trying to ruin a man's financial future and social life is one thing, but his girl too? You've gone too far, sir.
You thought your first kiss would be JoJo, but it was I, Dio!
He said the thing! word gets out about what Dio and Irina did behind the bleachers, and our hip cheerio Jonathan is reasonably upset, storming right up to the mansion, bursting through the doors, and putting up his dukes. Despite Dio being the better fighter, JoJo's rage gives him the upper hand. During their fight, some blood gets on this stone mask, which causes spikes to appear. I'm sure it's nothing. Later that day, the butler's taking out the trash but starts to hear strange noises from inside the furnace. Almost like someone was put in there.
I may have evened the score by killing his mutt.
I fail to see how you getting what you deserved and then killing a person's dog are of equal value. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Dio can be a little bit dramatic. 7 years later, in 1888, our little Englishmen become giant, hulking Greek gods who are finishing a game of rugby right before graduation.
Hell of a pass, JoJo.
All's for naught if you hadn't run it in like you did.
This is the good timeline where JoJo turns into a sports manga, and I would honestly eat that shit up. Back home, things are looking dire as George Joestar has been suffering from an unknown illness for a few weeks now. Meanwhile, Jonathan happens to come across a note left by Dario before his passing. In the note, he mentions similar symptoms that Mr. Joestar is currently suffering from, despite receiving medicine from Dio. I wonder what could be wrong. JoJo finds Dio on his way to give Mr. Joestar his hourly medicine. Putting the clues together, Mr. Detective realizes that Dio was the cause of his father's death and how he plans to do the same to George in order to inherit the fortune. While he might not have any solid evidence of Dio's devious lick, JoJo plans to find the answer and the antidote. He goes off to the slums of London in Ogre Street. I feel like all of that is just completely unnecessary. I mean, Dio just screams, "Yes, Your Honor, I have committed every possible crime." JoJo lands in Ogre Street and gets greeted by our lovable tour guide Speedwagon, who comes carrying all kinds of gifts like manslaughter. But our British beefcake knows no fear. He beats the thugs, winning Speedwagon's respect for not backing down no matter what. The thing with old school shonen anime is that fights end in one of two ways. Either the villain just brutally dies, or they become the main character's best friend. There is no in between. Weeks later, Dio stumbles across the streets of London, cursing himself for drinking just like his father, as he worries whether Jonathan has found proof of his crimes. Getting into an argument with some hooligans, he pulls out the stone mask to test if it'd be a good device to kill Jonathan with. It's good, but for different reasons. After being blue-balled by a seemingly normal torture device, Dio walks away, but not far behind. Hooligan number 2 gets up as he's become a vampire. Immunity to pain, superhuman strength, and the ability to restore your youth. The stone mask has the potential to create the ultimate life form. Its only weakness would be the sun itself, saving Dio as he's found his final trump card. Dio comes home to find JoJo, Speedwagon, and the cops, who found proof of his evil deeds, like it's an episode of To Catch a Predator.
On Chris Hansen.
Dio accepts his fate to be sent to jail, only for Lord Brando to show his true colors. He reveals the mask and plans to kill Jonathan to become a vampire himself. Within the confusion, Dio manages to stab Joestar and put on the mask. After the cops shoot him, the one who was stabbed was actually George Joestar.
I am to blame for this.
Goddamn right you are. While Mr. Joestar understands Dio is in the wrong, he still cares for him like a son and is glad he got to die knowing his Jonathan has become a real gentleman. Okay, cool. Dio is dead. The story is over, so we just gotta destroy the stone mask and never mind, he's a vampire now and we're all fucked. Dio has rejected humanity and become an immortal vampire with the same abilities as the undead monster from earlier, along with the power to turn corpses into living zombies, easily overpowering the beefcake British man. It's so dangerous, even Speedwagon is afraid. Despite the danger, Jonathan knows what he must do. He has to stop Dio here and now for the sake of his father and the world. I feel like if I saw a sexy, muscular vampire walking up a burning building like it's a fashion show, I would just jump into the fire.
Get back, JoJo! Die for nothing, fool!
it doesn't hit the same. Through courage and luck, Jonathan manages to best Dio, trapping him in the blazing inferno along with Mr. Joestar. JoJo escapes and the mansion explodes. The invader has finally been defeated. JK, he's alive. 3 days later, Speedwagon sends Jonathan to the hospital. When he goes to check on him, he finds a beautiful woman attending to his wounds who seems awfully familiar.
Your face reminds me of a girl I used to know.
Her name wouldn't happen to be Irina Pendleton, would it?
Oh, nah, I was thinking about my girl, Rebecca. Irina? No, she's a bitch. I mean, she cheated on me by kissing the dude who killed my dog. After JoJo and Irina's heartfelt reunion, Jonathan heads back to the burnt mansion to see if the mask is still around. Everything seems fine, but they notice some strange Italian man. The strange Italian man pops out of nowhere and gives JoJo what for right in the stomach. Introducing Will Antonio Zappelli, a man of many secrets. He warns JoJo that Dio is still alive, but knows a way to kill the vampire once and for all. By harassing Kermit the Frog's long-lost brother, Zappelli shows off the power of Sendo, a breathing technique that allows you to do random bullshit by harnessing the power of the sun, the weakness of the vampires. Really? A power system about breathing? I mean, what's next? Ghosts that punch really hard and just have way too specific powers? JoJo trains in the art of Haman for an entire week. Learning that Dio has been wrecking havoc in Win Knight's lot, the Joestars go to check it out.
Why did we stop?
Yeah, JoJo is known for having some pretty graphic scenes, but Phantom Blood just goes full nightmare fuel. Jack the Ripper, an infamous serial killer who took the lives of many women. Being a big fan of his work, Dio turned him into an undead warrior to kill Jonathan. Zappelli sees this as a great opportunity to test JoJo by teaching him the meaning of courage. To face fear itself and not lose your composure, that is courage. JoJo takes that message to heart and defeats the Whitechapel murderer. His training is complete. Team Joestar enters the small town of Win Knight's Lot. A forgotten training ground for warriors has now become Dio's feeding grounds, as many people have gone missing. As they walk around, this little chap named Poco steals their luggage, but with the power of Haman, anything is possible. From a minor inconvenience to a life-threatening situation, night hits and the zombies come out, led by the vampire king, Dio Brando.
To undo your injuries, how many innocent lives did you consume?
I don't know. How many loaves of bread have you eaten in
16. Oh, you just thought you had like a clever comeback? Well, joke's on you. I like to count my calories. The battle takes a turn for the worse, as Dio's able to counter his own weakness with the power of ice, and forces Zappelli out of the battle. Okay, Dio is like completely overpowered. Superhuman strength, immortality, regeneration, necromancy, the hypnosis thing with Poco, and now he has ice powers? Meanwhile, JoJo just breathes and stretches his arm a bit.
In a pinch, I figured this'll do.
Dio dips and lets his trusted underlings do the fighting. He calls forth Bruford and Tarkus, powerful knights who served under Queen Mary 300 years ago. Bruford, the noble warrior, is up first. With his flowing locks, he can tangle Jonathan and suck his blood.
He's got both hands behind his back. Which one is his sword arm?
Neither. His hair wields the blade.
Put the money in the bag!
Through their battle, Bruford becomes impressed with Jonathan's quick wit, determination, and gentleman's spirit. Claiming JoJo as the victor, he gives him his sword before passing. From luck to a stupid name like Pluck. At first, I just thought Bruford was like fucking with Jonathan before he died, but Pluck actually means determination and courage. So it works. Last but not least is Tarkus, a selfish, bloodthirsty brute who hates the weak as he curses Bruford for losing. The Joestars use their Haman to make a quick getaway, turning a bunch of leaves into an airplane for them to fly away. It really feels like Araki is just making up shit at this point. They end up in a castle dungeon, used to train warriors and lock up prisoners. JoJo goes inside, only to find himself in a trap. The chain deathmatch was Tarkus' specialty, as he's won 48 times. In order to free yourself, you must kill your opponent, who has the key on their collar.
JoJo!
Oh no!
This is all so frightening. I think I wet myself.
I've never related more to a character in my entire life. That is like the most normal reaction to have in that situation. Poco finds a way inside. Thinking back to all the times he was bullied, even by his own sister, he works up the courage to help save JoJo. He unlocks the door, and when Zeppeli enters, he realizes a prophecy is about to come true. Long ago, his master Tonpetty told him of his upcoming death. Realizing his time has come, Zeppeli rushes in to save JoJo, but he instantly dies. That was extremely anticlimactic, but it wasn't all for nothing. Zeppeli gives Jonathan the rest of his Hamon. JoJo goes from buff to Giga Chad, ripping the steel collar and one-shots Tarkus into oblivion. Zeppeli shares his final words to Jonathan, with the most impressive part being how he can talk with half a body. Hamon truly does wonders, huh? Zeppeli dies, thanking Jonathan for the wonderful adventure. Later that night, Team Joestar enter a small town and find that some of the citizens have turned into zombies. After taking care of the mess, a strange fellow named Dyer comes to say hello. Ha! You fool! You fell for Dyer's Thundercross split attack. Nobody has ever been able to stop this. It's okay, Dyer. You'll get him next time. Dyer reveals himself to be friends of Zeppeli. We also meet Straight So and the Master Tonpetty. The three of them have come to help to put a stop to Dio's tyranny. This is probably the worst section of Phantom Blood and is usually where most people fall off. Everything just slows to a crawl in the middle of the story, with these random side characters popping up and then these two fights that really add nothing to the story besides Zeppeli's death, and then even that, it's really hard to care about Zeppeli's death when we haven't really spent a whole lot of time with him. Although these next two episodes are really good.
Where you been? How dare you leave the house like this?
And we're starting off strong with domestic abuse. I swear this show is good, guys. Over in Dio's mansion, the Riz King works his magic on Poco's sister. However, she's a bit more into the mysterious type. Too bad for Doobie, as Team Joestar came just in time to put a stop to Dio's shenanigans.
Guess who survived his time in hell? Dio.
Say what you will about Jonathan, but that was the coldest thing he's ever said. Jonathan and Dio engage in the final battle. These two ordinary gents have now become colossal warriors whose battle could decide the fate of the world. The battle begins, but ha! You fool! You fell for another Thundercross split attack! Nobody's ever been able to stop. R.I.P. Dyer, but he won't be missed. The zombies fight back. Speedwagon, Straight So, and Tonpetty fend them off while JoJo takes care of Dio. Oh, damn, this Straight So guy is awesome. I really hope we get to see more of him. Totally not, Ichigo activates Bankai and begins the final battle. This time, JoJo has the upper hand, thanks to his many trials. Even with Dio's underhanded tricks, Jonathan's heroic justice can't be swayed, as he manages to finally beat Dio. Immortality, regeneration, superhuman strength, necromancy, hypnosis, ice powers, and now he has laser beams. I swear, if Dio gets another ability, that will be my 13th reason. With Dio totally dead and the only stone mask destroyed, Team Joestar can finally live in peace. Many months pass as Jonathan and Irina get married. They plan to have their honeymoon in the Americas. Hope to God it ain't Florida. The cruise ship sails. JoJo and Irina are enjoying their wholesome, old-timey marriage. Too bad, this is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure where the main character will never have a happy ending. Jonathan finds Dio's servant Wang Chan on the ship, who's planted the seed of turning every passenger into a zombie. Jonathan follows Wang Chan only to find out Dio is still alive. Oh my god, Dio is like a cockroach. a sexy cockroach. This man just refuses to die, and at this point, I'm starting to think he's the main character. After all of their encounters, Dio now has full respect for Jonathan's warrior spirit. He plans to kill JoJo and take his body to continue his plans for world domination. Dio spams the one move he knows Jonathan can't defend against, stopping him from being able to use Hamon. Then Arena comes in to witness all this go down. Wang Chan goes in to finish off JoJo, but the Joestar spirit can never be diminished. Jonathan uses the last of his Hamon to kill Wang Chan and causes his body to stop the ship's engine, and the boat begins to catch flames. Arena wants to die on the ship with her beloved JoJo, but seeing a dead woman holding her newborn baby, Jonathan tells Arena to save the woman's child and escape along with their own baby. Yikes. Dio tries one final desperate attempt to kill JoJo, but Jonathan grabs him and holds Dio in his arms. Alone together on the burning cruise, Jonathan thinks back to his relationship with Dio Brando. Dio was an absolute piece of shit to Jonathan since day one. Yet despite all of that, Jonathan still deeply cares for the vampiric monster and thinks of him as his brother. On February 7th, 1889, Jonathan Joestar, the world's greatest gentleman, has died. Weirdly enough, this is probably the best part of Phantom Blood. Jonathan may be a boring character because he's like the stereotypical good guy shonen protagonist, but his determination and undying love, even for someone who clearly does not deserve it, is admirable. Also, I can just imagine how insane this moment was when it first dropped in the manga. I mean, even in today's shonen anime standards, it's very rare for the main author to kill off their main character, especially for a series as short as Phantom Blood. Plus, if you're an anime only and this is your first time watching Phantom Blood, Jonathan dies on episode 9 and there are 26 episodes in season 1. So you're just like, wait, the main character just died and there are 17 more episodes. What is going on? Arena escapes using Dio's coffin. Thinking about the importance of Jonathan's noble deeds, she carries the legacy of the Joestars. That's the end of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1, Phantom Blood. And that's the end of Part 1, Phantom Blood. Jesus Christ, that was weird as hell. Now, I'll be honest, Phantom Blood is the worst part, but I feel it's overhated because part 1 really isn't that bad. I mean, for me, when I first watched Phantom Blood, I honestly did like it, but you can tell that this was Araki's, first attempt at something new and grandiose, He's still working out the kinks of everything. Over time, as you watch the other parts, you begin to appreciate the simpler aspects of Phantom Blood and just how much it's done for the series going forward. To me, Phantom Blood is a lot better in the manga because the anime does cut quite a bit of things, like the very beginning with the tribe who found the stone mask, or Jonathan versus Wang Chan, and also, Jonathan's relations to all the different side characters being developed more. If anything, I feel like Jonathan is a lot less of a one-dimensional character in the manga and makes him more enjoyable. And that's all for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, the whole YouTube shebang, and I'll see you in part 2. Bye!